Yeah, that makes sense. And we're going to get to recording this. And
Cool.
yeah, that actually makes sense that real estate is something that we're probably more familiar with, right, from that
Yeah.
level. Yeah. Well, it's exciting. I think one of the biggest aha moments is that people can use their IRAs to invest in these things. So if you're new here, hello, my name is Jasmine Willois. I am the president of the NAP Private Equity Club. Been around since 2013, also known as the Note Assistance Program. And you'll find us on YouTube and everything. We're going to get started here in about 2 minutes, giving people time to jump in. Today, I'm excited to talk to our self-directed IRA expert, Joel Landon, because a lot of very exciting things are happening out there with the market. If you are not aware, markets that have a lot of volatility tend to be where a lot of the businesses make their biggest gains, right? So if you're able to stomach this ups and downs that are happening right now, you're going to find that there's a very lucrative opportunity, and there's very small windows in time. Now that I reached this ripe age of mine, that I realize as you look back, there's always these little windows where, you know, a lot of money is made by the bold and those who are able to come out and actually take advantage of these ups and downs. So we're going to talk to you a lot about that, because our IRA is how we retire. And so that's why companies like Heritage IRA are so critical to what we're doing here, because a lot of us may not have money, you know, sitting around that we may be able to invest in, but that's where rolling over any IRAs that you may find to companies like Heritage IRA, right? From old jobs, right? You had a job when you were 20, 30s, 40s, $10,000 here, $40,000 there, rolling those over and putting those to work. That's where a lot of us have found the most of our success. So we're going to start here in about 1 minute. Let me go ahead and make sure my presentation is together, and then I'll be happy to dive in. Thank you guys for your attendance. Okay. We have Tiffany on here today. If you're there and you're able to say hello, say hello. Tiffany works with members who want to join the community, so she'll be putting stuff in the chat. But if you want to jump in and say hello. Oh, there she is.
Yay.
Hi, Tiffany. All right. We've got everyone introduced. It's 6 minutes after the hour. Let's get this party started in respect for everyone's time. Welcome to the Mortgage Note Lunch and Learn. Let's see, am I on the right page? I think so, yes. Let's do our general disclaimers, right? And so a lot of these videos shared and strategies that we're sharing here, right? They may or may not work for your specific situation. And so we want to make sure that you guys do a lot more due diligence, and before you implement the things that we're trying here as an alternative investment space. Some of these things are considered a little bit more sophisticated. That's why we want to introduce you to our team that helps us be successful, help us with our success, I should say, in this space, including the Heritage IRA, who we invited here today to speak to you. So make sure that you guys definitely establish personal relationships with the people that we're bringing here, so you guys can figure out how these strategies will work for you personally. We do love our speakers and our sponsors and our vendors with all of our heart, because they help us make money. But we want to let you know that we have a disclaimer for them, because again, they are the experts on educating and we are just facilitating. So even with everything you hear from him, obviously with us, as we mentioned before, the strategies that we're giving you, make sure that they are appropriate for you, but also the same, go in, because Joel, I'm sure, is going to give a lot of general advice here, but you definitely want to speak with them personally, and he's going to be available as well. And when you get a chance, go ahead and throw your personal, not your personal, but your professional, is what I meant to say, contact information in, so people know how to contact you should they be interested. Code of conduct, not necessarily needed here, but I always want to put it out there. We always want to be respectful and engaged, but definitely get to know each other in the comment section, because a lot of your potential JV partners are going to be in there, and people who are looking to get into the same stuff. And then you can find us online. I want to give you that quick. We're on LinkedIn, Meetup, Facebook. We are launching a new podcast, Notress Podcast. So mid-February, you're going to have us launched here. We're going to be myself and Tyler Amaya, the other general partner of the Reg D fund that we launched called RDMO2. So I look forward to having you guys come and listen to us there. We're going to be talking all things notes, how women are commanding their portfolios, and just some real talk about what we have to go through to do such as commanding our portfolio. So on that note, let's see. got a masterclass coming up. Houston, April 26th, 25th to the 26th. If you were not at the one in, where were we last time? Irvine. We're out here on the West Coast. Then the next chance to catch it is going to be in Houston. We're going to see if we can get Joel to come in and speak to us for a few, either locally or via Zoom. But just knowing better how these notes fit in your portfolio and how we all invest together using our IRAs is how you get off of, the observation mode to the active mode, right? And so we invite you to come out and get to know us better and kind of get hands-on with how we're doing. We also talk about how we use AI out there. So we're excited to bring this masterclass to you. If you want to know more about it, you can scan this QR code or contact Tiffany as well. What I want to do now is introduce Joel, and he is the representative for Heritage IRA. What I will tell you is this before I'm going to have him spend some time to tell you about himself personally. We all encourage you to make personal relationships with everyone. He's a great guy. I've been working with him for quite some time now. I'll tell you that the support that he delivers to our community is just irreplaceable. So I want him to tell you a little bit about himself personally so you can get to know him. But what I can tell you is that when it comes down to education and making sure that you guys are ready for what you have and the technology, that's one of the things that why I'm really showcasing them out of all the IRA companies we work with. The technology that they're bringing down the pipeline, I would love for you to highlight, and then of course the personal relationship. So thank you, Joel, and take the show away.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here, Jasmine. Thank you so much. Looking forward to this time to share as much as I can and how it ties in nicely to the investment strategies and the retirement strategies to the listeners today. So like Jasmine mentioned, I'll share a little bit about myself personally, just so you can get to know me. I've been in the self-directed industry now for about 10 years, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that industry looks like. Most of you are completely aware of what a self-directed IRA is. Some of you, this could be new to you, so I'll dive into those specifics here in just a minute. But I've been in that industry now for about 10 years, and I've loved every minute of it. I come from traditional banking, so very institutional, fit in a box type of investing and banking. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago that I heard about this industry through some of my contacts, and I got pulled into it, and I've loved it ever since. I've worked for a few IRA companies and 401k companies over my time, but I've landed since last year here at Heritage IRA. And there's a reason that I'm here. It's really because of what we're doing and the technology that we provide to a self-directed IRA investor. And I'm going to talk more about that as we get further into the show here. But that's a little bit about me professionally. My main role with the company right now is to build as many partnerships as possible so that I can get in front of groups like this and showcase the education and the technology and the resources that we've been putting together for you today. So super excited about what I'm going to share. I do live in Utah. I was born and raised in Southern California in Los Angeles up until I was about 12 years old, but then lived in South America for a little while.
Wow.
So yeah, I got to experience that culture, and I loved every bit of it. I lived in Paraguay, and it wasn't until my early 20s that I returned back to the United States and lived in Utah. And I've really enjoyed my life here with my family. I've been married now for about 19 years. I have 4 daughters.
Wow.
Yeah, life is beautiful.
That's another wow right there.
That's right. Life is beautiful. We had a short stint living in Alabama for a couple of years when I was working for a 401k provider. I loved it there. It was a ton of fun. It was a big change in so many ways from living in Utah. But if you're in the Salt Lake area, that's where I live. Hit me up. I'm always up for a lunch date, or if you're joining any in-person events that are aligned with what we do here at Heritage IRA, I'd love to be a part of it. I'd love to get to know you. So
Joel, are you going to have a presentation? Are you going to need to share your screen? Because I'm going to stop sharing.
No, I won't have any slides, if that's okay.
Okay.
I do want to show our
no
website.
worries.
Yeah, I want to show our website here in just a minute. I think that'll be super valuable. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. And I think, if anything, what I'd like to do is just lay the framework for what I want to talk about today. And Jasmine, you want to hit me up with any questions in the meantime, please stop me at any time. I noticed that Kimberly wants to have us put some questions in the comment box there that we can address at the end. I love questions. I hope that we'll get some. I can see that we have a lot of AI note takers, so you might be listening to this or reviewing the notes a little bit later. Would love to have a one-on-one with you if you get around to it. So just to lay that framework, a self-directed IRA, for those who are either brand new to it or you may have heard of it in the past, but you may not have a self-directed IRA, I just want to set the stage that a self-directed IRA functions the exact same as the IRAs that have been sold and offered by every single bank that you come across, or every single discount brokerage that you've ever heard of. You've likely seen the term IRA marketed in a TV commercial, or maybe on a YouTube ad. Maybe you logged into your Fidelity brokerage account or your Robinhood account and you noticed IRA. The self-directed IRA at its core functions the exact same way. So it's not necessarily like some magical, mystical loophole that we as IRA providers have developed over time. No, in fact, when it comes to the law of the land, a self-directed IRA follows the exact same Internal Revenue Code, Section 408, as any of the other IRAs out there. However, the difference between a self-directed IRA that we offer and the other IRAs that you see advertised to the mass market, we have the wherewithal and the technology to secure a unique type of asset in your IRA. Let me kind of distill that a little bit. So a Robinhood IRA, a Fidelity IRA, they may even coin the term self-directed in those IRAs because really it is just a marketing term. However, those IRAs are limited to the type of asset that you can hold in that IRA. They're limited to what you would essentially buy and sell in the public markets. So whatever you find on Wall Street, Amazon stock, Nvidia, any of those types of securities are what you would typically find in an IRA offered by Schwab, Vanguard. They don't, however, allow you to hold assets that are known as alternative assets. So let's dive into what those alternative assets are. They're going to be very familiar to you. In fact, I have a little note taker here. I'm going to pull it up because I don't need to share it, but I just want to kind of highlight what a self-directed IRA can hold because it's very robust in terms of alternative assets. Real estate. Jasmine, she asked a question before we even started. What's the most common alternative asset that self-directed IRA holders have in their IRAs? It is real estate, but it's the variety of real estate that these self-directed IRA holders have. It could be rental properties. Some of the most recent interactions I had this morning with individuals who are curious about a self-directed IRA are those that actually like to secure rental properties and cash flow those properties. So Carl this morning, he's asking me, hey, Joel, I've got a few properties in my name, in my LLC, that I rent and I cash flow, and it's a phenomenal source of income for me. What can I do with my retirement funds in that same asset class? So we talked about it, and it was new information for Carl. He is very familiar with rental property. In fact, I'd call him like a rental property master, but he was unfamiliar that he could take retirement funds and invest in that exact same asset class. And in theory, take what he's already doing with his LLC and like his personal money and his personal finances, and now shift gears and use his retirement capital to do the same thing. He was completely unaware of it up until a few days ago when he heard a podcast. So just kind of bringing it back to brass tacks, the self-directed IRA that we provide is an IRA that lets you hold alternative assets. Real estate, rental properties, commercial, promissory notes. For crying out loud, we're talking to Jasmine today. If you want to secure notes inside of your retirement funds, we're the people that you want to talk to. We've helped clients of Jasmine and people that she knows do this very same thing, and we're equipped to do it. And Jasmine even highlighted our technology. So when we spun up Heritage IRA last year, believe it or not, we're a newer company. We started in January of last year. We designed everything around technology. Our CEO was the chief operating officer of one of the biggest IRA companies in the nation. You know, I come from the industry. We have our consultants and our technology teams that come from the industry. The point I'm trying to make with that is all of us in leadership, all the way down even to our team members who service the clients day to day, we all come from the industry, the self-directed retirement industry. We've seen firsthand what it looks like for the client experience and what inefficiencies and even what deficiencies are there that we wanted to clean up, fix, rectify, and offer as our own product at Heritage IRA. So we've had a ton of fun since last year, really putting together the technology to make this an exciting experience for everybody. So I kind of digress there, but I just want to mention the self-directed IRA again is that financial tool that's going to allow you to take retirement capital and essentially convert it into alternative assets. So if you're thinking to yourself, okay, how can I do this? You know, I kind of have a good understanding now of how do I use my retirement funds to invest in alternative assets? Am I able to do this? You might be asking yourself that. And the question comes down to eligibility. Are you eligible? Do you have retirement funds in a retirement account that we can move into an IRA that we facilitate so that in return you can invest it in alternatives?
Great point.
Yeah. Did you want to ask some more questions, Jasmine? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No. I'm just
yeah,
giving
great.
you amen from the back of the church, but let me.
Love it. Awesome. No, I was going to say, you know, if you're somebody who has IRA money in one of those discount brokerages, or maybe you have an IRA with, I don't know, Wells Fargo Bank, for crying out loud, and you've maybe rolled some of your old 401k money or your 403b money into that IRA. Maybe you've got a Robinhood IRA, and you're just looking to take that money and move it into something like real estate or private equity, precious metals. I think we want to highlight that today, Jasmine. That was something that you brought up. We'll talk more about that for sure. But if that's something you want to do, if you're thinking, gosh, I'd love to take some of that money that's either sitting in cash. In some instances, it's literally just sitting in cash, losing its value. Maybe it's sitting in some stocks and bonds or mutual funds, and you're just really curious about moving that into alternatives. That's where you want to connect with me, or you want to connect with another IRA provider that offers this option to invest in alternatives. We had the discussion and we essentially peel back the onion and determine, okay, you're eligible. You have retirement funds ready to move into an IRA that we would facilitate for you and then ultimately custody the assets within it. So let's say you have a 401k, you've recently left that employer, maybe you severed employment at the end of last year and you're ready to move on to another company. That 401k plan needs to move somewhere. And your old 401k provider or even your old employer will tell you, hey, you don't work for us anymore, so you need to take this chunk of money from your 401k and either move it into an IRA or move it over to your company plan. This is actually a really critical time for you to take that money and determine next steps with it. Rather than locking it up in an IRA and kind of putting it on the shelf to collect dust, now is the time to actually say, okay, I've got options here. Do I want to move all or a portion of my 401k money into an IRA with, say, Heritage IRA?
And that's a great point. Can I jump in here for a second? Because I want to highlight something that's very dear to my heart and current, right? Talk about current events are very applicable today. Either you on this call or you know someone on this call who is going through job displacement right now, right? And so it's not only just a critical time. Remember I talked to you about the volatility that now it's all across the board, but this can also be looked at as a chance to capitalize, make money, and be free. So once we are able to get our mindset together, a few new members that we have are people who got displaced from really big high times jobs, right? And now they're asking themselves, do I even want to go back to work, right? And so without getting too risky out there, of course, everyone's like, get a job and, have a job. But with that said, rolling money over from that job that you've now put behind you in your rearview mirror may allow you to, right, start putting your retirement to work with companies like this so that you are not really so concerned about that job anymore, right? So a lot of us have jobs because we want to make sure we're saving for our retirement, right? Not because we don't know what we're going to do with ourselves during the day. So really think about what's happening today in the volatility and how you could turn this frown upside down, as I like to tell my son, right? And take advantage of what you're doing. So I just want you guys to see this is a chance for actual liberation as well when we talk about what opportunity we have. And freeing up these accounts, even if it's a new, job that you lost. So thank you for letting me jump in with that.
I love that, Jasmine. And I'm just going to say, I think I heard your economics background coming out there because it's so true. This could be the time for you. In fact, I just want to use a couple of use cases. Last year, I know we're still in January, so 2025 was just, we just left 2025. And last year, I spoke to several people who took the government buyout. Right? I think all of us heard about that in the news. There was an opportunity to take the government buyout. I spoke to so many people who had contributed and quite frankly, dedicated a lot of time to their government employment, could even be military services or armed forces that they were a part of. And they had eligible funds in their thrift savings plan. Government employees and so forth, diplomats, they have TSP plans. And they get to contribute to them just like an employer-sponsored plan, and that money is invested in the stock market. I spoke to many of those individuals, and it was like a light bulb went off for them because they weren't expecting the change with the government buyout, but they started thinking about, okay, how can I maybe take control of my life right now? I've been an employee day in and day out for, a decade or more. What could I do different? They were in front of circles like this, and they found us. And we had conversations with them, and we were really able to talk through specifically, what can you do today now that you've unlocked the money in your TSP before it's too late? And I'll tell you this, a lot of them went into business for themselves. They said, I'm going to take, I'm going to take what I've learned, the training that I got from the government, the experiences, the networks that I built. I'm going to go do some stuff on my own. Some of them became consultants, as you can imagine. And little did they know that they could take some of this retirement money. They could roll it into a self-directed retirement account, and they can fund their small business. And we facilitate that. And so it was this huge light bulb moment that went off for people, and many took advantage of it. Some, it didn't make sense for them, but they were actually able to fund their new business with their retirement money. And this is actually a provision that the IRS has baked in to retirement plans that allows a participant of that plan to take their money and invest it in a business startup. So it's a super powerful tool, and a lot of people don't even know about that. I think about one client. This was one individual not affiliated with this, with the government buyout. He was actually somebody in the oil and gas industry. He was an engineer, did extremely well, made very significant contributions to his company plan. And he left the oil company. He was kind of fed up with it. And he came across this option. He came across this option to take what he had in his retirement plan and start something that he wanted to do on his own. Well, lo and behold, he spun up a retro gym franchise. And this was in Southern Utah. And he said, you know what, I'm going to spin up this gym in this really small city here. This is a great opportunity for me to do what I love, and kind of control my day-to-day, if you will, control my future. And he was extremely successful with that. And he used this rollover business startup option. So it's a really powerful tool. And I know we're kind of going all over the place here, Jasmine, but I thought, gosh, why not touch on that? It's a very useful.
No, that's perfect for the crowd because we want to give them inspiration, right? This is about sharing resources, and you may or may not be ready to invest in notes, but how do we use this tool here? Because you'll come back eventually. Notes is part of the passive income, right? So I want to make sure you guys know the best way to handle that. But with that said, can you give us, I think it'd be a great time, and sorry to bounce around, but since we are, what's a list of things that we can actually invest in, right? It sounds like we can invest in businesses. So what are some of the things that we can? Because the precious metals, when you get to that, I want to share how we're using that here. But what's a list of things that we can, or maybe even shorter, cannot invest in?
Yeah, I'm gonna break it down right now. We talked about real estate, raw land. I'm talking with a client right now who's trying to buy $1 million worth of raw land. It's close to 100 acres around his property, and he's going to do that with his retirement funds. Of course, he knows that there are some rules. He's not going to be able to live on it right now while it's in his retirement account, but he can distribute that to himself at 59.5. So real estate, raw land, commercial. A lot of folks are in the multifamily. They are in the business, commercial. We've got individuals that are buying single family homes, duplexes, quads, you name it. And of course, promissory notes, whether, you know, you're the lender essentially for individuals who are looking for private lending. I was just at an event 2 weeks ago. I'm sitting across from these rental property pros, if you will. And a lot of them had capital that they could offer the others at that table to lend to. Private equity and private placements. There's a massive project down in southern Arizona. It's a manufacturing plant that I'm aware of. And I can't tell you how many investors are actually invested in that venture capital. It's a completely new startup. They've got really innovative machinery and technology in this manufacturing to expedite framing for homes and hotels and so forth. There's like 200 venture capital investors that are retirement plans, essentially. They're not individuals, they're their retirement plans. LLCs and interests and funds. Bitcoin. We have a great partnership even with a company that specializes in Bitcoin. So they facilitate the whole process.
You can put Bitcoin in your IRA, is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing, guys, right? Okay.
Yeah. And then, why don't we finish with precious metals? And we can talk more about that, but I might as well touch on what you can invest in.
Okay.
Life insurance, you can't invest in. Collectibles. That's your artwork, even like very, very like select collectible coins. Let's say there was like a random coin that was, you know, manufactured 200 years ago, and it's actually by IRS standards considered a collectible coin. That's off the table. So most IRA investors are just investing in the bullion, the gold and silver metal itself, bars.
Got it.
And I'll break that down even more here. S Corp stock, and of course, anything involving self-dealing. Those are the no-nos. Can I talk about self-dealing before we go back to metals, Jasmine?
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah, that's how we get in trouble. Please.
Yes, exactly. Self-dealing. So this essentially means if you try to take your retirement funds through a self-directed IRA and you want to invest in an asset that you or anyone in your direct lineage is associated with, that's highly prohibited. I'll break it down in real time or real life. Let's say there's a property on the coast of Florida. You've had your eyes on it. You really, really want that. You have capital in your retirement account, so you buy it up. You can do that, and you can have that property rented out. Ideally, you want that cash flowing. The money comes back into your retirement account and grows the overall value, cash value. And at the same time, you're holding an asset that's going to appreciate over time. If you and your family ever wanted to go to Florida, you unfortunately would have to get on Airbnb and find another place to stay because you can't stay in that property, even if it's for a week. That's what the IRS considers self-dealing. Let's look at another situation. Let's say you're a capital raiser. You're somebody who actually runs some type of a real estate syndication and you're one of the general partners. You would not be able to use your self-directed retirement funds to invest in your own offering, essentially. You might have 50 investors that are using their self-directed retirement funds to invest in your offering. You cannot. And it's because you as the general partner, you have control over that entity structure. So you can't benefit from it, nor can your direct lineage benefit from it. So your parents, yourself, your spouse, and your children. So again, you can't let your kids go have a fun weekend down at the Florida house that you purchased with your self-directed IRA. So be very cautious of that, because what will happen essentially, the IRS gets wind of it, they're going to disqualify the retirement account entirely. And then they're just going to tax you and penalize you. So it's a very hefty expense, and like people,
all the benefits are erased, it sounds like, with the quickness.
Could you imagine if that asset was purchased with Roth money down in Florida and it's just growing tax free, and then suddenly you stay in it for a weekend? IRS.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So let me start as we transition to the gold thing, because I know a lot of our investors are interested in that, and it's one of the things. I want to show you how a lot of our investors are using it within the community, and then have him address the do's and don'ts and things of that nature. So as of lately, especially gold and silver has been on a run, a lot of our members have been taking the money from their passive income notes that are coming in on a monthly basis and directly investing that into gold and silver. And the results of it have been out of this world over the last 2 or 3 years, if you can imagine. And so, quick story, one of our members, her son, they joined about 3 years ago, and that's exactly what they did. He was about 16 at the time, bought his first note. 2.5 years later, they invested about $550 a month, because that's what the note was paying, into the gold and silver. So you just do the math. It's about 10 grand a year. The kid didn't know any better. He's just going to school, living his life, didn't need the money, wakes up with enough money to put a down payment on his very first condo. And so he's liquidated. Now he's got his first condo that he's living in, and his parents could not be more proud, and nor could he. So think about how you can really accelerate, and whatever word you want to use, these returns, because as I started thinking about it too, if you can do that and then transition that into gold and still have it in your IRA, which is where this guy comes into play. Imagine having that type of exponential growth plus sheltering it from taxes. This is where the real magic happens. Because again, I believe notes alone are magical enough, but then I was like, then you take that and put it into the gold. So tell us a little bit about how that strategy works with your company. Apparently, first thing I learned was no to the collectible coins, but yes to the bullion. So
right. I'm so glad. This is a perfect tee up, and I'm going to preface this with a use case. So this morning I was talking with a prospect, Joy. She's in her 60s, so still very active investor. And let's just put it this way. When she told me that she had originally purchased it was about $480,000 in silver with a self-directed IRA originally. And then she tells me that it's now worth about $2 million in this self-directed IRA. You could see how long ago she purchased that silver, and now she's sitting on a fat capital gain, and it's in a self-directed retirement account. So let's just say maybe that was with pre-tax money. She now has the ability to liquidate that metal over time. She's over 59 and a half, so she has the luxury of doing that now. But at least she can modulate that. She can distribute that accordingly, and she's only going to be taxed at an ordinary tax rate. She has so many other assets as well that are going to provide losses for her personally in real estate, that a lot of those losses are going to help her offset the taxable burden as she starts distributing some of the silver. And like you said, the silver is crazy right now. It's $115, something like that right now. So she planned accordingly and picked up silver as a hedge against inflation and to kind of stabilize her IRA portfolio. And look at what it did for her. You know, now she's in a position where she can start distributing, and the value is it's phenomenal.
So talk to me about that liquidation phase real quick, just to make sure I'm understanding, for people on the call may want to know as well. So if she did that, or we are now invested in gold or silver, and we want to start liquidating to divest, when we sell that in the account, are we still subject to the capital gains right then, or we?
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you pointed that out. So no, she has the ability right now to sell and distribute, but for her, maybe it's a strategy to actually just liquidate that metal. We have a great partner. It's a silver and gold. I'll talk a little bit more about them in a second. We have a great silver and gold partner that would allow her to quickly liquidate that, keep it in the IRA. She may not want to distribute all of that money at once, right? But she can keep it in that IRA, and then she can go move into another asset class. Maybe it is notes. Maybe that's where she wants to park her money, or a portion of it, for an extended period of time. So She's doing all of that transacting within her IRA. She might be liquidating the asset, but it stays tax sheltered, so to speak, in that self-directed IRA. So let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of you've got IRA money, you want to get into metal. I'll kind of walk the dog and articulate what that looks like. So if you're somebody who would like to roll, say, $50,000 into an IRA that you can self-direct with us, great. We spin up the IRA in about 5 minutes. You're done with that portion. We start pulling the money in from the releasing custodian. Let's say it's Fidelity. Really, really simple process. 5 days later, you actually are sitting on $50,000 in cash in your IRA. Through our partner, our metals partner, you can approach them and you can say, I've got a self-directed IRA with Heritage. I want to take $50,000 and I want to buy X amount in weight in silver and X amount in gold. So you can actually buy that fractionally. You don't necessarily have to buy the coins themselves. So you could really tailor it based on weight, how much you want to purchase. And so this individual decides they now have a combination of gold and silver, $50,000 worth. They can sit on that in their IRA now for whatever period of time. Maybe it's a phenomenal hedge over the next 10 years to, like I mentioned, stabilize your portfolio, and then you decide to liquidate later on. The metals themselves, when you purchase the metals, it's really important that you know as an IRA holder, the metals aren't going to come to you. You're not purchasing at a retail store like you typically would metals and you walk away with it and you put it in your safe. Because it's in an IRA, the transaction itself, there's a middleman, and that's us. We're essentially the administrator of this asset within your IRA. And that's critical. You can't get away, unfortunately, with IRAs or 401ks or any type of retirement plan without having that administrator, that intermediary. It's going to be our job to make sure that those metals that you just purchased with IRA monies are first and foremost solidified, like the transaction goes through, but also that they're held with a depository. And our partner, they keep their metals in Texas at the IDS, the International Depository Services. There, you could look them up, you can Google them. They're a massive player in the depository services. So you as an IRA holder now hold $50,000 worth of gold and silver in your IRA in a tax advantage plan. Let's say you purchased that with Roth money and you purchased it when you're 40 years old, you sit on it, and those metals are now held in a secure location, a depository with decades of reputable service. And ultimately, you can walk away and let's just say 15, 20 years, you can look at the growth of silver and gold to determine what that might look like for you in 10, 15, 20 years. And if you purchase that metal at, with Roth money, once you start to liquidate and distribute at retirement, those distributions, the basis, the 50,000 plus all the gains come back to you tax-free. So those are kind of the mechanics of how all that functions. We work with our gold and silver partner to determine values because that does need to be reported to the IRS. That's what you pay us for. We send those valuations for your IRA, just like any other IRA company would do.
And that's like annual reporting, if I remember correctly. Like at the end of the year, I get something from my self-directed IRA people saying we need to declare value. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. So for this instance, the actual IRA valuation form number is 5498. We declare on that form what assets are held in the IRA. With this hypothetical that I was sharing, we would ask you, or we would even work with the gold and silver company in this instance, and we could pull the value of that metal then and there, report it on the form, send it off to the IRS to meet that annual compliance. So yes, to your point, that's kind of what that valuation process looks like.
All right, great. You know what I want to take as we kind of wrap up here, I want to spend time talking to them about how do people get in touch with you to facilitate them rolling over money, even learning more about money that they've already rolled over. I know you're open to talking to people no matter where they are in the process. You may have multiple IRAs. One of the things you mentioned was splitting up. So maybe they split up their fund and send them in 2 different places. But what's the best way for people to get in touch with you and start communicating with you and things of that nature?
For sure. Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll break it down. Everybody looking at the screen right now, if it's an AI note taker, no problem. What Jasmine has here on the screen is heritageira.com's landing page. So you can go to heritageira.com and you can see right away that we have the very traditional information that you can find and you can read up, and we have a couple of guides for you to go through. But if you really want to start having the conversation one-on-one, in the upper right-hand corner, you would essentially click book consultation. You'd get access to my calendar. So you can start finding a time to meet with me that aligns with your schedule. Before you know it, we're having a Zoom conversation scheduled for 30 minutes. And I just essentially walk the dog with you and ask you questions and understand your scenario. And believe me, if it's just a conversation, you have questions and you want to learn more, maybe there's things you don't know, but you need us to help you understand it, we'll walk through that whole process before you even feel like you're ready to get started. But if you were to want to move forward right away, we point people to the 2 buttons up there that say IRA login or 401k login. You can see right below that it says open an account for either or. And once you do that, 9 out of 10 times you're going to open up an IRA, a self-directed IRA that we offer. In some cases, 1 out of 10, you might use a 401k. That's where we have those consultations with you one-on-one to determine which type would work better for you. Both allow you to self-direct retirement funds. But if you go through that IRA login process, it's so simple. It takes people 5 minutes to do it on their own. And everything is electronic. You don't have to worry about DocuSigns coming to you or this, that, or the other. Everything is fully streamlined in a 5-minute application process. We collect the basics from you and so on and so forth. Do you mind if I go over costs, Jasmine? Is that okay? I think
that's 100% where I want you to go. And this is the technology I'm talking about, right? And so
yes,
it's less cumbersome. And so if you have an opportunity, what I love about these guys is because the firm itself is fairly new, they have the ability to turn that ship and get this technology. But the people who run it, when I say seasoned vets, right, these are the people that have the knowledge to show up and kind of educate you and walk you through it. So that's a 1-2 punch if you're asking me. So please do talk about those fees for sure. And just so you know, this will be on YouTube for the replay. So for those of you who are wanting to catch it and want to see the whole thing, we will throw it up on YouTube. Thank you.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that you use that analogy. We actually use that analogy all the time. We're not a battleship where it takes us so long to make a U-turn like some of the other bigger companies out there. It's the nature of the beast. We're that little battleship. We move so fast, and it's because we don't have any of the red tape and we control our own systems. We don't buy things off the shelf. We built everything that we have. So the cost to do this, we can keep costs very low. We've done the matrix. We understand what all the other fees look like in the industry. We can keep costs low because of our technology. Quite frankly, our overhead is very, very low. It costs you $50 to start an IRA. So if you decide, you know what, I want to do this. I already know the rules. I've had these conversations before. I'm ready to go. You can start the IRA login or open an account process. You can get through that. You can finish. Before you know it, you get a phone call from us. Hey, we saw you applied. Great. Let's move forward. By the way, here's a $50 invoice. So that's the key to get in. And you can pay that right there through an email invoice that we send and a link to Stripe. So that's cost number 1. It's a hard cost for us to get everything spun up, as you can imagine. Okay, let's talk about funding. The next step is to get your money into the IRA, whether that's from a contribution, a rollover from a company plan, a transfer from another IRA. That won't cost you a dime. So we do all of that work to pull the funds in, and it remains there until you're ready to invest. We don't charge you anything for that. When you're ready to invest and you find your note that you want to purchase, we're going to charge you $100 to initiate that transaction. Very customary, very normal. It's a labor cost for us to go back and forth and initiate the investment. We're going to charge you $300 a year to hold that asset. That is very competitive. We like the hard cost versus the fee based on asset value. A lot of companies charge based on asset value. And we like to say we don't want to penalize anybody. just because they're growing the value of their IRA. So hard cost, $300 a year for that asset. Now I'm going to throw a little curveball in there. Those are the only 3 fees that we charge, by the way. There's an outgoing wire fee if you still need to do outgoing wires. We prefer ACH, by gosh. So please, most recipients, most senders like ACH because it's free. If you're somebody that likes to invest in notes, we understand that the transactional volume of buying and selling notes is high compared to, say, a long-term 3-year hold with a syndication. So we do offer a checkbook control. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that right now. It's essentially a tool that allows self-directed retirement investors to run multiple investments and transactions through one entity to reduce that cost so that you're not paying $100 every single note that you purchase through your self-directed IRA. So we have a solution for clients with high transaction volume. If you're a buy and hold type of gal, don't you worry. We've got that very basic $100 for the transaction, $300 annual for the custody of that asset.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for that. All right. So what we want to do here is if there's any questions, then we'll leave those to you. You put them in chat and or just come off the unmute yourself. But really the goal here was to make sure that everyone could have access to someone like Joel with his experience and talk to him about what and how you can start moving forward, whether it's by putting notes into your portfolio, putting gold is one of the things we want to highlight because a lot of people are taking that passive income, as mentioned in our community, and throwing it into gold. You can do all that within your IRA, right? And so that's the key here, because again, the key is how do we add magic upon magic upon magic? And so that third level of magic is that IRA that if you have the opportunity, now you can protect it from those tax burdens right now. And that's obviously going to be 1-2 to your catalyst to your return. So I want to share a few things with you as we wrap them up. And then Tiffany, just keep your eye out if there's any questions. If not, just know that this will be loaded to YouTube so you can review it again. And then you guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to reach out to Joel as well. And then you have contact to us. And so we have a website I want to share with you guys. This is on the screen right now. It's a free tool that we put together in conjunction with Heritage IRA. And this is going to be mortgagenotes101.com, mortgagenotes101.com. It'll give you a little bit about investing in notes and why it's good to do so. And then has a lot of links to connect with Heritage IRA should you decide that using your retirement money is best as well. So do check out mortgagenotes101.com, especially if you're new to the talk about mortgage notes. A lot of you guys have a lot of gold and maybe you want to transition to something like mortgage notes and then vice versa. But other than that, I want to say thank you guys for coming out and let you know who our next speakers are going to be, right? So we are going to have Kathy, we call her the fairy gold mother, coming to speak to us, right? So it's going to be a perfect transition. February, last Thursday of the month, come check us out. We're going to have Kathy talking about how you can use gold and what it can do and how you can even buy fractional amounts of gold. Imagine being able to go in and buy $5 worth of gold, because that's what you have today, right? $40 worth of gold. So I think that's really going to be a benefit to the community. And after that, we're going to have Josh Williams talking about partial. Of course, we have Willois Amaya coming in to talk about the Reg D fund on which we're buying HECMs. So I appreciate you guys. And Joel's information is in the chat. Did you put it in there, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can email me at joel@heritageira.com. You can call me or text me. I've got my phone number in there as well. But yeah, go to heritageira.com if you want to learn more, and you can book a consult with me there.
Looks like Ricardo is very interested in speaking with you, Joel. So
Cool.
Hopefully you guys connect, but he wants to know how to contact you, even though you just mentioned it. So I think it was kind of same timing. So do make sure that you and Ricardo do connect. And other than that, we hope we were a really good resource for you guys. We'll see you next month. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jasmine. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joel.